Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slamfire Radio. This is episode 412 for July 8th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Adriel.
I'm Mo.
And I'm Kyle.
Or Hef, as it says on your little label thing there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Finally doing a show from home. Yes. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
Let's see. Why don't we... Trevor and Kelly are... touring the country now that the COVID restrictions are up. They're finally doing the tour of the wine country in Canada. They're out in BC and drinking wine. And Trevor's in the New Brunswick wine country. I don't know where I'm going with this.
New Brunswick has a wine country?
It seems like the moonshine country. They definitely have moonshine country.
There you go.
I know. I've been there.
Yeah.
But I don't know about a wine country. Moonshine. Apple moonshine country.
They might call it wine. I don't know.
Yeah, toilet wine and that kind of stuff. With that, what we did with guns this week is brought to you by the Calgary Shooting Center, Canada's premier firearms retailer. Right now, they have limited edition Tikka Western Superlight ODG6 rifles. They've got 30 of them. These are lightweight Tikkas. They're the style you'd take sheep hunting. They got like a muzzle brake built into the barrel and that kind of thing. Yeah. So if you're looking at hiking, or if you just don't want the weight, you're just a wimp, you just want give me the lightest wire rifle possible, go check those out at the Calgary Shooting Center. I've got a whole pile of stuff, but why don't we start tonight with Mo?
Okay. So I had another IPSC match in Quebec last Saturday. 6 stages. It went really well. I feel like I'm making progress, so it was positive. One of the stages had an interesting low port, which was more like a doggy door. And at first, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, wow, I don't think I'm even going to be able to get that low because I have the flexibility of a corpse. But I managed to pull it off, and it was fun. I stuck around for the teardown after. I ended up another of the stages was they had three barrels spread out, and keep in mind that it gets all lateral movement, right? Mm-hmm. And you had to place your mags on the barrels, and you're only taking from the barrels, so you had to kind of figure out where to put them based on what you were going to shoot. And then, so I have, I usually just bring 5 mags because I only have 5 pouches for the belt. So I ended up having anxiety about the mags. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to order another one. So I ended up ordering another mag, another pouch. So I put it on my belt for the next match. I ended up registering for a couple of more matches in Ontario the weekend after. So it'll be the first time I actually shoot back to back. So it'll be one day on the Saturday and then one on the Sunday. They're both about a couple hours drive away. I have another match this Saturday again in Quebec, another IPSC match. And then I also registered for something called a maple seed. Adriel, I think you're familiar with those, right? So that'll be.
I've done one or two.
Yeah, 1 or 2. So that's going to be in August in Ontario. So nice. I'm looking forward to that, and it'll be interesting too because I have an IPSC match on the Saturday, and then the maple seed will be on the Sunday. I thought it was at 9 a.m., but it starts at 7:30. So that's going to be a fun morning.
Mm-hmm. You're going to be all sore from your IPSC match. Yeah. And then they're really going to put you through the paces at the maple seed.
I told Kelly if I fall asleep on my match, she can kick me. So,
what kind of rifle are you taking out for that one?
That's a good question because I have a basic Ruger 1022 with no scope on it, and I mean the very basic entry level one, which is a semi, right? And then I also have a CZ. What is it called? 455. So that's the bolt, and that one I have a scope on. So I may actually use that because I do like the scope on it, and I'm comfortable shooting it. So I know you guys encourage semis, but I should be okay with it.
If you're fast on the bolt, the trouble with a bolt is that you lose your natural point of aim every time you run the bolt. Because you got to, like, let's say you're prone, you got to take your right arm off and run the bolt and then put it down again. If you're quick on it, it's fine. Like I did mine with a Norinco bolt, and it was fine. Semis are easier, but
okay. So maybe I'll put a scope on the other one then, like a cheap
scope on it. Yeah, put a cheap put a 2 to 7 or a 3 to 9 or something like that on there. You don't need much. Like I see a lot of guys showing up with like 6 to 24s, and it's like put it at the minimum. It's like you don't need to see the bugs on the paper. Just the square is fine. Most in the States they recommend just 4x, so you don't need a whole ton of magnification for it. But like some magnification is better than just irons. Okay,
so that's what I'll do then.
Cool.
Then my last thing was I took your advice, and I ended up contacting Dylan for the ring indexer, and they answered right away. Like their warranty department answered, I think, next day, and so it's apparently on the way now. It's coming from the US, so who knows how long it's going to take, but at least I'm getting it. And in the meantime, I ended up biting the bullet and ordering 1,000 rounds of 9mm, because just to get me through the next 3-4 weekends, right? So I'm definitely going to need it.
Yeah. Dylan's lifetime warranty is fantastic. Like I got a clapped out square deal, and like slowly part by part, and she'd be like, I need this part and I need this part, and they're like, okay, just tell us all the parts you need, because like it sounds like you need an older one. I'm like, okay, I took a picture of it, and they're like, okay, and they sent me like all for free. They just sent me all these parts that I needed. Like there's few companies out there that have like a true lifetime warranty, but Dylan's is fantastic.
Good. Yeah, no, it worked out, so I was happy about that.
Awesome.
I think that's really it for me. How about you, Kyle?
I got out to the range there Sunday, get my rifle dialed in for the weekend. It was an interesting trip. Basically, it was a sight in and get out of there, because, well, I don't like people handling guns while I'm downrange facing targets.
Oof.
So, yeah.
Was this at a range, or was this
it was at a range. I have to drive an hour to go shoot a rifle at a range now, but yeah, no, it was at a range, and yeah, I'm not a fan, but it is a good range. Just people still like to handle firearms when people are downrange, and it's a range where it's unsupervised. So
did you call them out on it?
I did. I mentioned, hey man, it's unloaded. Don't care. Yeah.
I think a lot of people
nice
just need to learn the
like,
rules.
Hey man, like downrange, do you mind not handling your gun while I'm down there? And yeah, it's just dismissive attitudes, like, well, it's unloaded, doesn't matter. Like, it does matter, but
it matters. Yeah, it matters.
But that aside, loaded up some ammo, did some dry fire. Like I said, just getting prepped for the weekend. Got the trailer at the house, lots of prep for the weekend. The first big match in probably almost 2 years now for me, because I didn't do Battle of Alberta last year, so it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. Get a little taste of the OG days.
It's gonna be a full taste of it, because no rules, no restrictions, restrictions.
Yeah,
back to normal.
Looking forward to that.
Good.
Yeah. And then, just change after this weekend. I'll have to change pace, because shooting sporting clays next weekend. So,
yeah,
that's about it for me. Adriel?
Oh, I did a couple things. Let me get show my background. Yeah, sure, why not? I've done a couple things recently. One of them was, let's see. Let me just start pulling some guns out here. I got this guy out to the range. This is a Saloon Arms S211. I talked about this on the last show, but I didn't show a video, and it's tiny. It's a tiny little over-under shotgun. Yeah. And it is terrible to shoot. Absolutely terrible. There's no good way to shoot it. Okay.
Yeah.
You can use the stock, but the stock itself is terrible. You can see how small it is. It looks the right shape, but it's much smaller than a regular butt pad, and it's a very light gun. And if you shoot slugs or something out of it, it just does not feel good. So you could try offhand, You can try. I tried one-handed. I tried a two-handed, like a pistol grip kind of a thing. Neither of those really work well because, well, it's a straight stock, right? So what happens is it slips in your hands and you smoke your fingers on the trigger guard there. So that doesn't really work. From the hip, yeah, it shoots well from the hip. And then if you want a little bit of aim, holding it like offhand out here, that works. It's not great, and like the recoil on it is enough because it's 4 something pounds, and it's a shotgun, right? It's putting out some lead, so not fun to shoot.
Novelty gun. Very
much so, yeah. Now this guy, this was a little bit easier to shoot, even with there's a little stubby stock for it as well. This is like a mare's leg kind of a thing, and even with the stubby stock, still shootable. You could still one-hand it because 38 Special or 357 Magnum is not nearly what a 12 gauge is, and very fun to shoot, very easy. With this full stock on it, it's comically short in terms of the barrel.
That's a Rossi?
Yes, this is a Rossi, yeah. And yeah, fun little gun. Fun little gun. It didn't like my I had some 38 Specials with the bullet like basically all the way in the case. I didn't like feeding those, but I can't imagine any lever would. And it ran the 357 or anything with a round nose on it just fine. Fun gun. Lots of fun.
Nice.
Cheap too, because like 38 Specials like super cheap, right? And then another review I'm working on is
RDB.
Keltec RDB. This is an RDB with a magnifier on it. It's got an Aimpoint Pro on there. It's got aftermarket forend on there, and that aftermarket forend really helps with when this barrel starts to heat up. So with just the regular forend on there, barrel starts heating up, I start getting like terrible accuracy with it because of the way it connects with the stock. But with this one, not so bad. So working on that right now.
Nice.
The show and tell continues. Is anything off? How about now? Yeah, so this is a Ruger 1022. It's got one of the Spectre Ballistics mag wells in there, and what that does, I love how this works. It's just such a unique thing to do. It's just a little insert, and you pop that guy in there, and it's got a little tab on the side there for releasing the mag, and then you can run 5.97 mags in it. Now, 5.97 mags vary in quality. These Pro Mag ones are they need a little bit of working in before they're 100% reliable, but this one's getting better. I think you need to run like a lot of ammo through it. The mag well itself, like an insert, doesn't move, and it's actually very easy to use. It's got like a little release on the side there, so you can quickly pop out the mags, and it's pretty ergonomic in how it does it. Not quite like not as much as that is, but still pretty good. So that's interesting. I'm working on that. Okay, I think that's all of my my stuff I wanted to show. Oh no, I haven't had one of these. I finally decided to get one. A little like bench block, for knocking out pins. I typically use like a 2x4 with a hole drilled through it, but this is more convenient. I don't have to go into my backyard or something like that. I can do this like anywhere I want to, or put holes on my desk. If anyone's seen any videos of mine and I have to do like a desktop view, it's like the desk looks nasty because I'm always doing gunsmithing on it. But now I can use that. I do have lock grips. I'm not going to show them today because all my stuff's zipped up and ready to rock and roll for 3-gun match. So I won't pull those out. But I also did get the Palm Swell lock grips for the CZ Shadow 2. And they're good. They're good grips.
Yeah, that's what I have too.
I would say like they're almost a little bit too grippy in some ways. I was testing it out. I went to the range a couple days ago, and a couple of times I had like a bad grab on the grip, and I had to like. It wasn't just an easy like slip it into place. You had to actually let go of the spot that it was holding on because those bogey grips are so grippy on there. So anyways, I got some of those. I got a shipping notice today. I don't know what it is. There's a couple of companies that are like sending me guns, and I've bought some stuff, so I have no idea. I hope it's not a spring. Last time this happened, I got a slip in the mail. Right. I like excitedly went down to the mail to the Canada Post, and like, you can't get it today. I'm like, oh, go the next day. Spring.
Yeah,
you made me sign for this. Dump it. Hopefully it's a gun. Hopefully it's something weird. And I'm gonna try it again tonight. I'm gonna try going when I'm not supposed to, even when it says go the next day. I'm gonna wait until later tonight.
I always chance it.
Oh, I'm gonna chance it. Yeah. I have to go shopping for groceries and stuff anyways, so I'm gonna head out and check that out. Got a 3-gun match coming up this weekend. The Battle of Alberta. That's at Chaz. It's Saturday, Sunday. I got to be there for Friday to help set up and that kind of thing. So I had to do a couple things to prep for it. That's primarily what I've been so busy with this week is trying to get prepped for it. Because I don't think I've put much to the last minute, but a couple of things like would have really screwed me. One was like my van, because I was going to van camp, and the temperatures this weekend. Well, right now it's 31. It's 6:00 p.m. and it's still 31 here. If I got to sleep in a hot van, it's going to kill me. So I just did this last night. I got mosquito screen, and I got a sewing machine, and I got Velcro. And I got Velcro inserts that go over my windows now for the van, so I could leave the windows open, and the mosquitoes aren't going to come in and eat me alive. Nice. So I got that. I got some. Yeah, this is only like interesting to me. I don't think anyone who's listening to a gun podcast wants to hear about my trials and tribulations of living in a van down by the river. But I'm going to be in that van this weekend, next weekend, and the weekend after. So I need it good. It's got to work. The other thing I did was I went to the range 2 days ago to do some. So I wanted to, like Hef was mentioning there, sighting my rifle. I wanted my rifle like bang on. I wanted to try the lock grips. I didn't think I was gonna see anything interesting about them, but I did grip it really well when it comes out of the holster. And then I was also shooting with Ian Runkle from Runkle of the Bailey. So I was nice. This is going to be his first 3-gun match, Battle of Alberta. It's like the biggest match you could go to, and that's his first one that he's going to go to. So nice. I set him up with a belt and mag pouches and all this stuff, and we're going through some drills just to try to get him to a little bit of comfort and familiarity with some of the rules of command and what's going to happen, so that he's a little bit more comfortable with his first match, a big 2-day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
It's. I'm actually happy that he's going to be out there because it's going to be a good time. And I also had my oldest son out there, and we were practicing some pistol stuff. So draws, reloads from pouches, transitions on some close targets, and it was a lot of fun. He had a lot of fun too. He really liked it. He liked going on the timer, because like I've had him out shooting pistols before, and it's like, I can get like 3 mags out of him. He's like, I'm good. And then as soon as we start doing transitions and I put a timer on him, shooter, are you ready? Stand by. Beep. And then he's like, how much was that? What was that time? How much was that? Well, how much are you doing it in?
Chase the timer.
He was all over it. Yeah. He was like reloading his mags on his own, like popping him his pouch. Yeah, he's doing all his work. Yeah. It was really good. So nice. Food for thought. If you've got kids and you want to like get him into something, like not all kids are competitive. Some of them would like hate that, but he really responded to it. And I think, so 3-gun match this weekend. Weekend after, I'm going down to Lethbridge and doing a couple maple seeds down there. So that's also why the van needs to work. It needs to be squared away.
Yeah.
My crappy van. I'm having so much fun with like completely rednecking this thing and like putting these Velcro like just messing it up because it doesn't the value doesn't matter. I'm going to do this again. Once this thing's dead, and it'll die, I don't know, a year or two, or maybe this year, I don't really care. I'm going to go out and spend another $4,000 and get another crappy Dodge Caravan to do this for, because having like a dedicated range battle van with like unlimited storage is so nice compared to like driving a nice car down a gravel road and getting it all scratched up and getting it muddy inside because the range was muddy. Like it's nice to have people you don't care about for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that is it for my week. It's pretty busy.
Three gun question for you guys. Is there like an orientation for people that want to get into it? Like, is a black badge required, or can anyone?
It depends on the 3-gun club. So 3-gun in Canada is mostly outlaw, which means that each range has its own specific rules. Most of them are either going to be using IPSC rule set, IPSC multi-gun, or they're going to be using like 3-gun nation. So you need to know the rules of the one you're going to. In terms of like orientation for a new person, there's no course really. You kind of like just tell the RO, I'm new, and they'll be like, okay. And they go from RO mode, well, still RO mode, but they'll go to like straight up coaching you through the stage.
Yeah.
Okay, now do this. Okay, now do that. Now watch your 90 doing this thing, and they'll just tell you what to do as you go through.
Okay, so they kind of get some direction from that. So somebody that walks in and says, first time here doing a 3-gun match, right?
Yeah, because their goal is to ensure you shoot it safely and ensure you have a good time. So they'll basically tell you exactly what to do.
Okay.
Unless you tell them not to. Nah,
yeah.
I like to live
shut
dangerously.
up. It's like, fine, okay.
All right. Getting ready for the DQ.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a little bit different.
Some ranges do. I think there's a range down Calgary area that does. You have to take their kind of course thing or something to do that. But yeah, as a general rule, no. And like Adriel said, encourage everybody. If it's your first time, let everybody know, because everybody is going to give you so much help and assistance. It's
Yeah. I think some ranges even require you to have a black badge to shoot 3-gun.
I haven't heard that one before.
I have.
Okay, yeah. So it's up to the what's specific to the range, then how they kind of police things, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. What they're comfortable with. Let's see. Upcoming events. Upcoming events is sponsored by Telos Alpha. Telos Alpha is a Canadian digital agency that works exclusively in the firearms vertical. If you need a new website, or if you want to start taking payments online, or if your old website is like really, really crappy and you want something that's like newer and the search works and the categorization isn't stupid, contact telosalpha.com and they'll hook you up. I am so excited that we have events. It's been so long where it's like, there's no events. Yeah. Or maybe there's one, but it's like, it's 2 months from now. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe not. Probably won't. We actually have events in our events calendar. Nice. People are actually emailing us about events. Oh, yay. We're back. Oh, it's so good. So I'm going to do like the next 30 days of Maple Seed. Maple Seed Lethbridge, July 17th and 18th. So those are both still available, and there are spots there. And I'm going to be running it, so that's going to be a good one. And then Stittsville, that's probably someone who's not very committed to the show. That's going to be running that one, but that'll be on July 18th. Too much? Too much? Do you think she's
no,
I hope
just enough. Just enough.
And then Sherwood Park will be on July 25th. So those all have spots on them. If you go to mapleseedrifleman.com and go to the events area, there's lots of events that we're opening up. That you will be able to check out and see some different Maple Seed events. Next one here is...
It's a very nice website, too.
It's easy enough to use, yeah. The next one is Rimfire Race Guns. This is a match in partnership with CRPS. It's happening in Lloydminster on July 17th. That's from Mike H., who's a listener and is probably listening right now. So if you want to go shoot your Rimfire rifle or pistol very fast, check that out. It's Steel Challenge, but for Rimfire and with rifles. So check that out. There's also going to be some service pistol matches at Guelph Rod and Gun Club. That'll be July 17th and August 28th. Details are on CGN and register on Practice Score. That's from Chris W. And there's also going to be the Bill Bramley Challenge Sporting Clay match at Wapiti Shooters Club in Grand Prairie, July 16th to 18th. The prelim will be on Friday, and the main event will be Saturday, Sunday. Is that a register on Practice Score kind of a thing?
No, they register CNSCA or just show up and register.
It's a shotgun thing, right? So I assume there's like carrier pigeons or formal like announcements or some other weird... No?
Yeah, no. I have conversations with him at the range all the time, even on the scoring system, and they are unfortunately a little Stone Age on their stuff.
They'll catch up. I mean, like Chaz 3-gun has only been on practice score for 3 years, maybe. Before that, it was all printed, and like no pre-register. Like stuff changes quickly, right? When you get someone who's like a decent admin in there, and then they start like updating things, it happens quick.
Yeah.
Next, we have some news. I have one news item, and it's not a news item, but I just think it's hilarious. So I'm going to share it. Let me share the screen. It's that one. This one is lawyers for Sandy Hook say that Remington, manufacturer of the AR-15 style rifle used in the 2012 school shooting, included in its documents tens of thousands of irrelevant images, some of which were random cartoons. So this is one of those cases where victims or victims' relatives try to get some money, and they sue the manufacturer of the rifle. This is like a spoons make me fat kind of an argument. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I got to show some of these because, well, at least this one, the very irrelevant.
Wow!
Could you? This is a legal document. This is in the court records now.
Wow!
For this big lawsuit. They've got that kind of nonsense going on in this legal case.
Wow. Oh, that is awesome.
Had to show it. It's so funny. Such a funny little thing. All right. Let's get into new gun stuff. New gun stuff is brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee. Slamfire Radio is now a brand ambassador for Bolt Action Coffee. Their coffee is roasted in small batches, and it's quite honestly some of the best coffee you can get your hands on. Send it to your house by going to boltactioncoffee.com. Discount code Slamfire. Whew. All right, let's go through some of these. The first one here. So Spectre Ballistics has this C71 receiver, which I love the name. They've got some discounted ones. There's some blems and some factory seconds and that kind of thing. So it's a 1022 receiver. And let me share my screen and I'll show you what it looks like. Top rail, yada, yada, yada. These take Ruger 1022 mags or the Tough 22 mags. So if you want to run without a mag adapter, Tough 22 mags straight in a rifle, they do have some C71 versions here. And they're discounted because of some cosmetic issues. So if you want to get some cheap, that is an option. Another thing, it seems this week I'm just following everything that's shiny and and just interesting to me. But Frontier Firearms has this cute little key ring. It's a German reduction HDR 24, which is like their stick hand grenade. Mm-hmm. So if you want a key ring with a stick hand grenade on it, they've got one to hook you up. And then Rangeview Sports has a display model Korth NXS revolver. And the NXS should give you an idea about what this thing's going to be all about because it's very shiny and very red. Fancy. It's 357 revolver.
Ooh, that
$5,600. But it's discounted. It used to be 6,600. Now it's 5,600. Yeah. It's red. It's cool looking.
Oh, it's
357. Mm-hmm. Moon blocks and all sorts of other weird stuff on there.
Wow.
I don't know too much about Wheelie Go Gats. All I know is that one looks cool.
It does.
And then Wanstalls has a sale on used firearms. So they've got a couple things that are on sale here, but I just wanted to point out a couple that I think are particularly good deals. This MP22, you just don't see a lot of them right now. It seems like we're short of them. That's a decent price on them, $300 for an MP22 with wood grips on it. I believe it's used. They've got a Steyr L1 Steyr L9A1. So if you like, futuristic handguns that look like they're from Battlestar Galactica or something like that, they've got one for $500, which again, I think that's used pricing on there. They go to Ruger Gunsight Scout with a whole pile of mags and stuff coming with it. There's a Stoeger M3500 for $500 on here, which is a very good deal on a 3.5-inch chambered shotgun, semi-automatic. Yeah, that is a fantastic price. They got a Ruger 1022 with a Bushnell scope on it, wood stock, $300. That's pretty good. Savage Model 42 for 400, Savage Mark II for 200. Yeah, there's definitely some decently priced stuff on here, which I was looking at that L9A1 just because it's so weird, but I don't know if I'll get it or not. They have a Ruger new model single six, which again, I don't know very much about Wheelie Go Gats, but it's $400, so I don't know. That seems okay-ish, I guess. If you want to, pretend you're from the Wild West.
There we go, the Tommy gun.
The Tommy gun, where I didn't see. Oh, there we go. They got the Tommy gun, BB gun. Yeah, the
BB
Legends.
guns. Yeah,
there's a couple of air guns in here. You're like, oh, what is that? It says some weird Beretta 22. Okay, cool. They've got CZ75 Pre-B for $500, which I think that's a pretty good deal for some of that stuff. And then they've got some various pouches and that kind of thing. So if you're looking for a sale, check that out at Wallenstall's. Well, why don't we get on to the main topic? And for tonight's main topic, we have Riflechair from the Riflechair YouTube channel. Welcome, and let us know what you're all about and what you get into.
Hello, folks. Yeah, hello. My name is Riflechair. My real name's Richard, but I go by the name Riflechair. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of you guys here. I mean, you've hit 400 episodes. I guess we're at episode 412 now. That is a huge milestone. So, congratulations to all of you. So, yeah. Riflechair.com is my website. I also have a YouTube channel on YouTube with around just shy of 12,000 subscribers. Generally, musketry and marksmanship are some of the primary, subjects of conversation on the channel. I have some fantastic subscribers. Some of the dialogue that goes on the channel, comments, communication back and forth is very educational, even just for me, because they're adding to the conversation of my various videos. Generally, other types of themes that we discuss on the channel are kind of the history, kind of gun reviews. I don't really do modern guns, although I have kind of included some of those in the mix. Primarily, they're older kind of firearms that we review on the channel, such as Lee Enfields, Model 98 Mausers, large ring, small ring, and so on. So a lot of musketry, a lot of tradition kind of subjects that I discuss on the channel: freedom advocacy, gun control versus crime control, developing a safety culture. And I think that's if you're going to be discussing the subject of musketry and rifles and handguns and stuff like that, is that you have to be a big advocate for developing a safety culture. So I like to talk about that kind of stuff too. I used to talk a little bit about power structures and political power structures and so on. I do so less now today because of kind of the censorship that's going on today and on YouTube and especially here in Canada. Because you don't really know I guess it's self-censorship, isn't it, really? So, I kind of got my mind on that too, but mostly primarily musketry, marksmanship, and those different kinds of things. I also have an annual championship called the Cabin Fever Challenge. It's been in operation since 2014, and it's turned international. We got competitors from the United States, Canada, Finland, Sweden, Britain, Germany, and it's a 20-round course of fire across 4 different shooting positions, all of which are unsupported. And it's gone international, but it's kind of homegrown here in Canada, and it's invigilated by other YouTube channels. So those fantastic people that have been helping with the competition, hello out there, thank you very much, great people. Primarily, a lot of the things that I discuss on my channel are Lee Enfield oriented, primarily because of my experience with them, having served 18 years as a member of the Canadian Armed Forces as a Canadian Ranger. I retired from the Canadian Armed Forces June 2019 with my rifle, which was gifted to me by Her Majesty the Queen, and I thank her for that very much. The rifle's name is Lursa, 1950 C No. 4 Mark 1 Star Lee Enfield, great rifle, and I've probably put in the neighborhood of around 20,000 rounds down the tube of that particular rifle. So a fair amount of experience with Lee Enfields. Kind of tighten them up, in order to be kind of a marksman of those kinds of rifles, you need to be kind of a semi-quasi gun plumber, I guess you would say, for lack of a better word, and kind of know what you need to do to make them sing, for lack of a better word. Other than that, I'm essentially, a 30-year veteran of the forest industry. working in the mountains of northwest British Columbia, very remote location with mountains, giant rivers, black bears, grizzly bears, moose, and all kinds of different kind of critters that have to work and play and live amongst.
Yeah, lots of opportunity to get out there and do some shooting in northern BC. Yeah, so the Lee Enfield stuff was specifically why, like, selfishly, most of the hosts of Slamfire here, anytime we're getting into a project, like, we need to learn about something. I needed to learn about Lee Enfield because my background right now, that's my prestigious stock that I'm in the middle of fitting to a number 4 Mark 1. And I was like, I want to know about bedding, because someone's like, how are you bedding it? How many coats of boiled linseed oil are you going to put on that thing? I'm like, wow, no, I guess I have to find out. I guess I have to ask some experts. And I started looking around for Lee Enfield bedding, and your video came up on all the different bedding methods. And I was like, there's a lot to this. I need to get this guy on so we can learn all about it. And I mean, like, there's probably a lot of our listeners that maybe in the middle of restoring their Lee Enfield back to factory condition, or that might have considered it. They might have a sporterized one, and they might want to consider bringing it back to life. So in your video, you had described a couple of different bedding styles. Maybe just take us through what are the different styles of bedding that you can do with a Lee Enfield, and what are the kind of the pros and cons of some of them?
Certainly. You know, I guess if you're going with a prestigious stock, these are the newly manufactured stocks. Is that correct?
That's
okay.
Correct.
I haven't played with one of those yet. All of the stocks that I've worked with have been, well, let's see, seasoned. Let's put them that way.
Dunked in a barrel of boiled linseed oil. There's the coating.
Well, yeah, but that's something for you to consider first off before you do anything, is how you've waterproofed that stock. So too many times I've come across the Enfield stocks that have been varnished, and they don't even take it out of the wood. They just go cover the metal with it, and the wood, and they just go, okay, it's good enough. You know, it's a Lee Enfield. Who cares? That's generally the attitude when it comes to Lee Enfield. It's a piece of junk. They're not good rifles. They're the poor man's rifle. That's why you have a Lee Enfield. But I think a lot of people with experience have come to realize that the Lee Enfields is a serious piece of kit, and once you got them tuned out, they're an incredible rifle system. So you might want to consider, if you're going with one of the brand new prestigious stocks, is to give kind of the organic aspect of the rifle, which is the wood stock, some consideration before you really look at sanding or cutting and chiseling to fit the stock into the rifle. And so what I highly recommend is that before you do anything, is you get yourself some raw linseed oil. Now, this is I'm not talking about boiled linseed oil. I'm talking about raw linseed oil. And what you want that oil to do is you don't want it to congeal on the outer extremities of the rifle, of the stock. You want it to penetrate into the wood. That's kind of the spirit and intent of how those stocks were prepared in order to be used for, well, generally used in incredibly inclement weather. You know, they were drug all over Europe and Asia in some of the worst kind of environmentals you can even imagine. And it was raw linseed oil that did the trick. So that's something for you to think about. Once you got your stock thoroughly impregnated with that raw linseed oil, then you can maybe start thinking about using some boiled linseed oil on the outer surfaces that will harden, and that will kind of that will encapsulate the wood and help to stop the raw linseed oil from kind of bleeding out in, say, hot weather or washing out in the rain. That kind of idea. So that's something for you to think about. What I will say though about the Lee Enfield is that you maybe think of it as a kind of a teeter-totter. I'm going to use a Lee Enfield here, if that's okay to demonstrate.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So is it a number 4 Mark 1?
That's mine. Yeah.
Okay.
I have had a number 1 Mark 3 in the past. I gotta say, I really like the number 4. I prefer the number 4 to the number 1.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. With this, primarily my scope of practice is around the number 4 iterations of the Lee Enfield rifle. One of my favorites is the number 4 Mark 2 iterations, where the trigger is hung from the receiver rather than from the trigger guard. It's just a much better concept. for ensuring your trigger pull is consistent. But so essentially with the Lee Enfield rifle, there are some different ways. There's the traditional way of bedding your rifle, and then there's this kind of the target shooting marksman style of bedding the Lee Enfield. So maybe what I'll do is talk about the traditional way and then the target shooting way. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So with the Lee Enfield rifle, maybe think of it as a teeter-totter. You've got a weight on either side of this thing, and there's a pivot point in the middle. Well, the pivot point in the middle is the action screw. Okay, right here. And so there's firm contact underneath the receiver right around this area, around the action screw, and an area here about an inch, half an inch wide, maybe 3/4 of an inch long, called the Knox form, where there's good firm contact between the metal and the wood at this location here. Okay, so there's firm contact at this location around the action screw of the rifle. That's the middle of the teeter-totter. On the other sides, you have what are called the draws, which is where you have these lugs from which the sear is actually connected to the rifle. This little pronounced area inside the action here. Those are called the lugs. So there's a recess here, which is called the recoil lug, and so there needs to be firm contact there. Also, at the other end of the rifle, you have firm contact here with the rifle and the forestock. And there should be between 3 and 7 pounds of foretip pressure at that location. And you'll notice that if you were to actually, I don't know if you can see this or not, but you can actually move the foretip up, but it will come right back down. So there's about average around 5 pounds of foretip pressure, generally between 3 and 7 pounds. If you don't have that, you have a bedding problem. Additionally, you should be able to tighten your action screw here to the point where it's pretty snug. You don't want to really kind of crank on it. I couldn't tell you how many pounds pressure you would use in order to establish this, but just kind of keep it snug. But you don't want to crush the wood underneath, if you know what I mean. There is a bearing surface here, so you don't want to over tighten it. You should also have there's I guess you would say a pillar. A steel pillar that goes in between the action screw and the metal that is at that location. So that's kind of the general principle of a traditionally bedded rifle that you would see as it would be issued to you if you were in the military. And the reason why there is contact here at the front is because these rifles were issued with a bayonet. Okay, so I mean, if you were free floated at this location and then you added a weight to the end of it, you're going to be spraying and praying. But because I've got extra weight on the barrel here at this location, I've got firm contact in about an inch and a quarter area here at the bottom of the forestock, good foretip pressure, and I can still have a semblance of fairly decent accuracy, up to at least 200 meters. Now, the other way to actually bed the Lee Enfield rifle is to actually free float it. Now, it's not free floating as you can consider in the traditional sense, because this is a rifle that has kind of a funny bedding system with only one action screw and draws. Okay, so it's not a true free floating, but essentially what you're doing is you're taking that point of contact that's up here at the foretip area of the stock, and you're moving it back to right here. So it's not really truly 100% free floating. You're just shifting that third point of contact further back into the stock. And so you build up an area right here. There's some other kind of different ways of doing it. One of which is to use like a Marine Tex epoxy or something to that effect. You can get some plasticine on the other side and kind of build it up like a dam. Lots of people used to use back in the 1950s and the 1960s when they were DCRA shooting, excuse me, for service rifle matches, NSCC, National Service Conditions, is that they would use fiberglass. I've seen lots of people use cork. You can go to your local Princess Auto place and go get yourself a couple sheets of gasket material. You know, that cork gasket material. Yep. And you can epoxy that into the area too if you want to stiffen that area up as well. I just I used to use the epoxies quite a bit, JB Weld, Marine Tex, those kinds of materials, and I'm starting to kind of use a combination of the two and with the gasket material. So that's.
And you said that that bedding was just a little bit forward of the chamber, I guess, on the barrel. So
yeah.
you just get that part to kind of hold all the take all the weight.
That is correct. That is correct. So what you can actually do is I'm not suggesting this because you actually are using you'll be going with a full military stock, but in this case, what the latter type of bedding will allow you to do is to actually use a cut down stock as well, because you don't need the foretip pressure at the end of the barrel, do you? So I've transferred it to here on this one here. This is an original number 4 Mark 1T sniper rifle. This is not the original wood. Okay, this is just like I don't want to go to hell. So I mean, I would never do something like that, to cut down the original wood on a rifle like this. That's for sure. So this is just something that I acquired. So at this location, it is center blocked, it's center bedded. It is semi free floating, obviously, but it allows me the latitude to reduce the weight of the rifle just a little bit by actually having a stock like this. But what I will mention to you though is because of this the system of bedding that Lee Enfields enjoy is that I highly recommend that if you're going to be playing around with it, is that you also have a handguard on top of the wood. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you have a rifle like this slung over your shoulder, it's an incredible amount of you're essentially pulling down on the stock like this here. And what that ends up doing is it puts a tremendous amount of pressure here on the draws at the aft end of the rifle. So if you're really pulling on that sling, or if you're just wrapping it around your arm to get a good stable shooting position, for example,
nice.
You're pulling down on that rifle, and so that's why I have the handguard here to basically to essentially support that location. So I'm not pulling the wood down and damaging the draws, damaging the bedding system of the rifle.
Now, I'm aware like the traditional way of doing this would be mostly you just use like wood, straight wood. Is there any hybrid method of using like epoxy on the draws to get a nice tight fit up or anything like that, or is it just use the wood, whittle at it, and then just keep going until it's nice and snug in there?
Yeah, so I have actually done that. I have used a Marine Tex in order to actually build up the draws, but those are only on stocks that had damaged draws. So you kind of chisel the material away. What I'll also like to do is sink holes into that surface area. So I'm actually anchoring that epoxy into the wood at that location, because you don't want to just skim bed at that location, because it receives so much impact with every single time that the rifle recoils. So let's say, for example, we'll use this one here as another example. One of the funny things about the Lee Enfield is that there's a tremendous amount of barrel whip that occurs on these rifles, especially with the number 1 Mark III rifles. There's a number 4. They have a little bit of a stiffer barrel on them, a little bit larger diameter, I guess you would say. But just it's not a heavy barrel, but it's heavier than a number 1 Mark III. But what you'll notice here is, I would love to see this in slow motion, is that every time the rifle is discharged, you get flex and movement all the way from the receiver forward through the barrel. So you get this wave, you get this whip kind of type of phenomenon, I guess you would say. And that's one of the reasons why the traditional bedding system was that you had between 3 and 10 pounds of foretip pressure on the rifle, was to help to stabilize that. But so that's something to consider, is that the draws need to be very, very, they need to be in firm contact with the receiver lugs at this location, because you don't want it to crack. And then, if you're in a competition, as I used to do quite frequently, whether it was the Canadian Armed Forces Small Arms Concentration or going to BCRA Service Rifle Championships, every year I used to do that consistently, and it really helped for me to develop my skills and drills and marksmanship. It really did. But those are the kinds of things that I really came came to appreciate is that just how much of a difference in performance that it would help to achieve at the end of the day.
Yeah, maybe that's a good next thing to talk about. What kind of performance can you expect out of a Lee Enfield? So we're going iron sights, but they're good iron sights. What kind of accuracy can you typically get out of a really well bedded, really well set up Enfield? And what are some of the tips you can use to kind of maximize that accuracy?
Yeah, okay. So that's actually a really, really great question, because there's a couple of different things that you really need to pay attention to. And well, one of which is, first of all, is the quality of your ammunition. Because of this barrel whip phenomenon that I was just referring to, if you have, like, let's say you got yourself some World War II, Mark 7 era ammunition, full metal jacket, 174 grain projectiles, is that the quality of the ammunition for a lot of the Lee Enfields back in the day wasn't great. I mean, some of them were almost you could barely even chamber around, because there's Pakistan, there's Canadian arsenals, there's the Greeks made a whole bunch of it. This is a whole wide kind of iteration of 303 British that was manufactured, military surplus ammunition that was manufactured, and not all of it shot great. All right. So I've heard all kinds of, they're not rumors, it's actually quite true, is that the Lee Enfield actually shoots better at long range than it does at close range. Like 300 meters would be considered to be fairly, I would say, medium range. 500, 600 meters would be considered to be fairly long range, especially if you're shooting open sights. And the Taliban in Afghanistan kind of proved to us, though, what the Lee Enfield really can do, and it shocked a lot of people. But because of this ammunition quality issue, what happens is some rounds exit the barrel slower, and some rounds exit the barrel faster, because there's inconsistency in the quality of the ammunition. And so if the slower rounds have a tendency to impact high because of this barrel whip phenomenon. The longer it takes for that barrel to actually exit the barrel, the muzzle has climbed a little bit further, and so you have a higher trajectory, even though it's a slower round. Whereas if it was a faster round, it exits the muzzle quicker, and the barrel hasn't had enough time to rise. That's a problem that you can get rid of if you're running high quality ammunition or hand loads, or it's just a good brand or manufacturer of factory ammunition. You eliminate that problem. But if you have any doubts about the quality of your ammunition, that is something for you to take into consideration. Sorry, what was the original question?
Yeah, well, we're going down there. What kind of accuracy can you expect out of a decent Lee? Okay.
So I would say, we're talking about a rifle that is in excellent condition. There's no problems with the bedding, and it's a kind of traditional setup, with a 4-tip pressure and all that different stuff, but it's set up properly. Okay. We also need to remember that this is a battle rifle. It was made, between 1941 up all the way up to, some cases, the mid 50s, if it was a Canadian rifle, for example. And generally, I would say the quality of all of the Canadian versions would be good. The British is kind of all over the place. But you also have to remember the British Lee Enfields were, being manufactured in factories that were being bombed by the Luftwaffe. And so there'd be a guy in the milling machine, and there'd be huge, giant, gaping holes in the roof, and he'd be rained on because the factory had just been bombed a week ago. Right?
It's water cooling. It's water cooling if you get too hot. Yeah,
it's water cooling. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, there can be all kinds of factors that would have an impact on the quality of your rifle and its ability to shoot. But I would say, for example, a rifle that is in excellent shooting condition with a 5-groove barrel, not a 2-groove, that you should be able to expect 2.5 minutes of angle at 100 meters, a 2.5-inch group, and I'm talking about a 10-round group. 2.5 inches. That is with if you're doing absolutely everything correctly, and the rifle is shooting good, you should be able to achieve 2.5 minutes of angle. If you've gone through the process of match bedding it or match tuning it, you should be able to achieve at least 1.5 minutes of angle. And if you're running a rifle that has actually been professionally manufactured to be, like a sniping platform or a dedicated marksman rifle, such as this rifle here, which is the Enfield Enforcer, is that you're a sub-minute of angle rifle. This one here is in 7.62 NATO, and it has a match heavy barrel.
Ooh, yeah, that is heavy.
Yeah, that is a very, very heavy barrel, and it has a different bedding system altogether compared to the other the other two examples that I just showed you, because it has the heavy barrel. It doesn't need to, so it's got a few different rules applied to that one. But so I mean, but if you're talking about a rifle that is maybe a little bit tired, it's seeing a lot of ammunition down the barrel, you're going to be, you could conceivably between 3 to 4, maybe even 5 inches if it's tired. I mean, there are ways of tightening that up a little bit, but you're also talking about a rifle that's between 70 and 80 years old. Right? Mm-hmm. You got to take that into consideration.
Interesting. Are there any other? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I actually did allude to this just a little bit here. So the difference between a 5-groove barrel and a 2-groove barrel is that you won't necessarily be able to see any serious difference out of so performance-wise between a 5-groove and a 2-groove. Do you guys know what I mean by the difference between a 5-groove and a 2-groove barrel?
Yeah. How many grooves there are in the barrel? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. You won't really see a dramatic difference between the two so far as performance is concerned until you get to 300 meters and out. But I'd say 200 meters and in, there's no real measurable difference in performance. But you get to 300 meters and out, yeah, it's you don't want to be running a 2-groove. That's my opinion. That's been my observation and experience.
And then. What other tips might you have for some of our listeners who maybe have a Lee Enfield and want to improve on the accuracy of it? What are some of the common bugaboos or things that you might notice at a service rifle match that someone has to fix in terms of their rifle?
Okay, one of the big indicators for me is to check your action screw tension, and if it's tight and the wood is still loose in the stock, you have a bedding problem. If you go to check, and I mean, some of these rifles, you just shake it and you can hear the metal bouncing around inside the wood. I've seen that at places like the Canadian Armed Forces small arms concentration, and these guys are out on the range shooting at 500 meters, and every once in a while they hit the target, and it's absolutely astonishing to me that they can do that. I mean, because they're shooting at these targets. And at 500 meters, you can't actually see the target in the middle. All you can see is the 4-foot frame that it's sitting on. But the fact that you have a rifle that's loose in its stock and you actually hit the target at all means that you're probably a really good shot, but you don't know anything about the maintenance of your rifle. Like at 500 meters, I can get all 10 rounds on the target, and that's in the prone unsupported, where I'm not actually shooting at the target itself. I've got my front sight on the 6 o'clock position.
6 o'clock hold?
The 4-foot frame, because that's all I can see. And my point of impact is 24 inches high. So that's the first thing that I would check. Your action screw tension, and if the wood is the metal is loose inside the stock, you have a bedding problem. What I would say is that so many of these rifles is that when you're talking about a rifle with an organic element onto it, such as a wood stock, those stocks were intended to be soaked in raw linseed oil and maintained so that moisture content stabilizes the wood. And it's incredible just how much raw linseed oil will soak into that wood. If it's dry, the wood shrinks, and then your rifle gets loose inside the wood. So that's one of the things that I would zone in on right away. Second thing is, if that's not a consideration, check to see if there is that 4-tip pressure that I referred to before. And if there is, then it's not a bedding problem. In my opinion, it's not a bedding problem if the wood is tight inside the stock and you've got the 4-tip pressure. It's something else. It's probably shooter related.
The nut behind the rifle.
That's right. I mean, if your skills and drills aren't great, if you don't, I mean, if, for example, it's the same kind of idea as being able to read wind. Being able to read wind is not going to help you if you can't shoot consistently. So
yeah, interesting.
So I mean, essentially, what I would do next is, I guess you'd say, one of my primary roles and responsibilities being part of these shooting teams that would go to these concentrations, shooting with Gurkhas and the British Army infantry, U.S. Army, Canadian soldiers, is as you're on these different teams, is you watch the shooter and you observe what they're doing, and sometimes we don't know. We're not always supposed to be doing this, but sometimes there's opportunities during practice sessions when you're assigned to a relay. So we'll actually help each other, just coach each other during these practice sessions and say, "Okay, man, you're jerking that trigger, or your eyes are shut at the moment of truth." Or you can say your hands are shaking. I can tell that you're nervous. You know, just kind of take a few deep breaths. Or you've been in the shooting position for far too long. Take a break, put the rifle down, and start breathing again. Close your eyes, rest your eyes. You know, stuff like that, and bring it back. And you know, it's just constantly referring to the fundamentals of musketry and marksmanship, because it may not necessarily be the rifle that's causing the problem.
But it's convenient to blame the rifle.
Always. That's your ego. That's the ego coming in, right? And then and again, it's I mean, Lee Enfields, when they're tired, worn out, they haven't been maintained, the maintenance regime has not been kept up. People get frustrated with them. They blame the rifle. A lot of people have a really, really bad opinion of the rifle. But also, I mean, if you got that poor quality ammunition that you've been shooting out of the rifle, you may start to develop a poor opinion of the rifles because you don't know why. You're behind the trigger and the rifle is just not giving you you're not meeting your own expectations. There's a reason for it. So it's a process of elimination, just with any other kind of rifle system as well.
Yeah, maybe like a more of a specific question, just because it's on the top of my head. What about for bullets? Do you typically run like a 174 grain? Do you ever run 123 grain, like SKS stuff? Do you ever like what do you typically run in your rifles? I've got my dies next to me. I've got some cases. I'm like looking around at bullets, and like my local Cabela's has like one style, so I'm probably not going to get that one. But if I'm just kind of curious what you use.
Yeah, so for me, economics has a huge impact on a person's ability to shoot, doesn't it? I mean, if your ammunition is horrifically expensive, you're probably going to be buying less of it. And if you're acquiring less of it, you're probably not going to get as much trigger time to develop and maintain your skills and drills. Because as we all know, marksmanship has a shelf life. And if you don't practice your skills and drills, it does this, right? Because we forget. Yeah. We're fallible human beings, and we forget. So it's a compromise between your costs and your time and your personal investment into the ammunition that you acquire or tailor for the rifle. And so for me personally, I like to shoot the what's the name of it? They're made in Canada. They're 180 grain round nose bullet. Campro, thank you. I use the 180. Who said that?
I didn't know that Campro has. That was me. I didn't know that Campro has 303 stuff, but Campro, like the price is the best. Like their bullets are cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. No. They're actually a great bullet. They fly really, really well. And I've had success shooting them out to about 500 meters as well. And that's on 2 different military ranges. I was shooting that ammunition out to 500 meters. We were hitting the target with a round nose bullet at 500 meters. And it's affordable. I don't think it's. Here's the other thing to consider is that so many of these soft point bullets that you can acquire, where you actually have a Spitzer point bullet and a protruding lead tip. There's a feeding ramp. There's a feed ramp on the Lee Enfield rifle. When you chamber that round, especially if you're in a rapid fire serial, you're treating that Lee Enfield hard. Okay, once that exposed lead tip hits that feed ramp, it pushes the lead over to one side before it chambers. And if you're really trying to focus on surgical precision, that's gonna play a role somehow, some way in the terminal ballistics of that round as it spins towards the target. So I like to use if it's going to be a Spitzer point bullet, I would prefer that it's a full metal jacket.
Full metal jacket, yeah.
But if it's going to be for hunting purposes, I'm going with a round nose bullet. But I've just for giggles, 500 meters and consistently hitting the target, I was very surprised. Even with a round nose bullet, you will see a little bit of an indentation on the exposed lead tip, but nowhere near as bad if it was a Spitzer point bullet. So I'm a big proponent of advocating for the Campro bullet. I think they're great. Yeah. They have a little bit of a thinner jacket on them, so for weight retention, if you're moose hunting or something to that effect, You may not get the weight retention that you would be hoping for, such as like if it was a what do they call those bullets that are fused to the lead? Bonded bullet, a bonded bullet, or an A-frame stab bullet, like a partition or something to that effect. But they seem to hold together well enough to do the job.
Yeah, I mean, the 303 is not sending them super fast, and 180 grains is quite a bit lead to send out. I like the price. I like the fact that they come in bags of 500. That's like right up there. I very much follow the motto of like buy it cheap and stack it deep. And for like this current shortage of ammunition, 9mm and 223, like I don't care because I've got enough. Like I'll shoot through it, and ammo will be cheap again by the time by the time I run out. $200 for 500. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's again, I mean, the cost. There's a cost compromise, performance compromise. You just got to find out where your happy zone is. I'm really happy with that bullet. I have tried the 7.62 by 39, 123 grain projectiles as well. Again, just playing around with loads, and I haven't really finished that project to see how far I can get that. But really, you should only be thinking about using those projectiles in a barrel in a rifle with a really good barrel, maybe even a really tight barrel, because they are a 310 diameter bullet, and the Lee Enfield starts at around 311, maybe even up to 312. And people running cast bullets are running as high as 314 sometimes, depending on what the groove diameter is on their barrel. So they're maybe just a little bit on the skinny side for a Lee Enfield. But if you have a really tight bore on your rifle, you should really consider playing around with it. They do need to be seated out fairly far because of the throat and the lead on the Lee Enfield rifle, and there's not a lot. They're pretty short, right? So yeah, I don't know how much you can get on that. So, but it's worth playing with if you're an experienced hand loader.
I am, but I don't think my rifle barrel is going to be that. It's just a stock British World War II era 303. So if you're saying they need to be tight, it's like it's probably not. I'll get the Campro.
I've had great success with 7.62 by 54R pulled bullets. They're essentially, a full metal jacket 303 bullet. They shoot great in the Enfield. So I had lots of success with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a really interesting platform. I think, like you were saying there, just because we have so many of them in Canada and they've been so cheap for so long, people kind of like turn their nose down at the 303 or the Sporterized 303 that they've got in their closet, or every farmer seems to have in their closet. But when you start comparing it with other rifles of the era, boy, it's pretty good. Like in terms of would I rather shoot a Mosin Nagant prone, or would I rather shoot a Lee? Like, give me the Lee every day. The running the bolt, the stock fit, like it's all just so much better. And it's got that Canadiana in it, right? So there's
what
something
is the pricing on them?
Which one?
Or like the range of Enfields out there.
You can get a used Sporterized one for like $200.
Yeah, you can get some of them are just, it's ugly, But you see them every once in a while, $150 to $200 Sporterized, but they're tired. Wow. You can tell these are tired rifles, right? So you really need to pay attention to. You got to be able to ask the seller some very specific questions, and if they don't give you the answer to satisfy you, just buyer beware, caveat emptor, right? When it comes to Lee Enfields. Because so many of them have been used and abused. They're rusted. And there's some headspace issues. And if they don't give you the answers that you're looking for, they could be unsafe. And so it's you need to educate yourself before even. It's a great deal. It's only $150. Well, you might actually regret that purchase. So I would caution people to maybe spend, if it was a surplus that's been cut down, or a Lee Enfield that's been Sporterized, is that just do your homework and ask the questions, and maybe even spend a little bit more money, even if it's like $350. Just get something that it's going to be good, you can rely on it, and it's going to do what it's designed to do. But if it's an original, all parts matching, all numbers matching, full military with full wood, and it's just in beautiful condition, now you're almost running around $2,000 now for those rifles. Yeah. So especially for the ones that are that's still in the mummy bag wrap, like these, the Irish contract rifles. You know, they're starting to approach $2,000 now.
A little bit more than a Mosin Nagant, but a lot nicer. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. Well, that's been it's been a lot of really good information, Richard, and thank you for coming on and telling us all about it. Before we let you go, maybe just tell people where they can find you and where they can find your stuff online.
Certainly. There's a couple of different ways you can find me. I'm on Instagram. Just do the @ symbol Riflechair. Same thing with Facebook. Same thing with YouTube. I do have a website, riflechair.com. And also the Cabin Fever Challenge, which you can find is @ Cabin Fever Challenge on Facebook, and that's where we have our rule set. We launched it's an international competition we launch in January every year, and it extends through towards the end of March. It's a great competition. It's very, very simple, but it's not as easy as a lot of people think it might be. This positional unsupported shooting, it's great. But here's the thing: is that especially with COVID-19 right now, a lot of gun ranges are still closed. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. Well, the 3rd or 5th and 10th wave of that might be coming our way as to what's going to happen. And so, you know, with typical competitions, they're group safety precautions. Everybody receives their range commands and so on, all in plenary at the same time. But with the Cabin Fever Challenge, this is something you can do solo in your own time. You just film yourself, run through the course of fire, and there's a trust factor there. It's the honor system, and it's a great competition, something to take into consideration. If your range has been closed and you want to be involved, you want to get out, breathe some fresh air, especially in the wintertime here, because we're Canadians and we like to shoot in sub-zero conditions, and that's a good way of doing it.
Getting out and doing a postal challenge. Fantastic. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And we'll be sure to link those in the show notes. So thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, everybody. And as always, Maple Leaf up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks again to Riflechair for coming on and telling me everything I need to know for Lee Enfields. I was seriously considering doing the epoxy bed thing before, like doing that tiger rifle. I'm like, I've bedded lots of rifles. That looks easy to me. I can do that. And I'm not going to screw around with wood and chisels. I'm just going to I'm going to crack out the acro glass and like have at it. But now I'm kind of reconsidering. Maybe I'll just do the traditional wood thing. Get that 5 pounds uplift on the nose. Yeah, I guess.
Get your lipstick out and start marking it all off.
Yeah. I think it's going to have to go that way. And I'm going to have to find some of those Campro bullets to shoot. Oh, so good. So good. Yeah. Nice and cheap ammo. Love it. Why don't we get into listener feedback? Listener feedback is sponsored by Armory DC Gunsmith. Armory DC Gunsmith is a full-service gunsmith who specializes in firearms refinishing. He offers hot bluing, parkerizing, Cerakote finishes, as well as wood refinishing. He can do your number 4. He can do your number 1. He can do your number 41. Any which rifle you need, he can redo it, restore it, repaint it, Cerakote it, whatever you want. Check them out at dcgunsmith.ca. Let's get into emails. Mo, do you want to take this one from Josh?
Yep, will do. Hello, all. Last week you spoke of the gray birch on your show. I've been firing some rounds through mine, which has the traditional V-block setup. Now the newest Fusion design, which has the barrel
not
nut,
the newest one.
Not the newest Fusion design, which has the barrel nut connection. The Fusion system will be coming my way shortly, I hope. Also, it has the newer bolt design, which has much better coating on it, making cleanings almost a thing of the past. Since Jan 1, I have fired 4,700 rounds through it. I cleaned it after 3,500 rounds, which wasn't the plan, but after I won the CCFR receiver, I had to install it. The insides are surprisingly clean compared to how a traditional 1022 would have looked after a similar number of rounds. I won't be cleaning it again until I start to experience issues mechanically or with accuracy. I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, those factory Ruger bolts, because they're like cast, they're really rough and they collect junk. They collect dirt and oil and grease and crap, carbon fouling. It's like those Ruger bolts really collect that stuff. Whereas I've found a lot of the CNC machine bolts or any bolts that are like coated, yeah, way cleaner, way cleaner.
Regarding the trigger, they are currently shipping with the Timney trigger. Early on the trigger had issues. This wasn't a Grey Birch issue, but was a Timney issue. Nonetheless, Grey Birch solved it. I must say, if there is a Grey Birch out there with any issue, contact them. I'm not sure what the warranty is exactly, but based on my experience with them, they will look after you. They don't want your firearms having any issues. I believe they are nearing the final stages of design with the new trigger. Posted on this social media a picture of it recently. This will be interesting. The Grey Birch has a unique look and performs very well. It's also great that you can start with a regular 1022 and upgrade a piece at a time or all at once. You can replace the bolt for little money, and it's so much easier to work with than a traditional 1022. Much better design. If you're familiar with the frustrations of removing and installing a traditional 1022 bolt, you will understand how unbelievable this is. You can install the Grey Birch bolt with one hand.
Not three. You kind of need three to do the Ruger, because you got to like pull the charging handle back and hold it and put the bolt in and kind of wiggle it in place and get that charging handle on there. It's a real, and I mean, like in terms of like guidance, the guidance that a single off axis rod has. Yeah. It's not the best design.
The money can stack up if you want to have the complete package. If you build it piece by piece to be a full Gucci setup like the picture below, you can creep up over 1,000 to 1,500 pretty fast, plus scope, plus rings, plus bipod, etc. Though you could start for just a few hundred with the mechanics to gain the performance benefits. Perhaps I should also say I'm not an employee of or have any financial ties to Grey Birch. I just have many different 22s and prefer this one over all the rest. Kelly asked for an update on the last episode, so there you go. Have a good one all. Adios, Josh V. Good letter.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good update. Yeah, lots of stuff in there.
Be really interested to see what the issue with that original trigger was.
My experience with I had one Timney that I saw that wouldn't reset. The return spring wasn't strong enough. Yeah, so that one wouldn't reset. I don't know if that's the same issue or not, but I've seen that one before. Because like with a Ruger 1022 trigger, you want a light trigger return spring to get that nice light trigger pull. But as soon as you go too light, it doesn't reset. And you gotta, it's kind of a pain. Yeah, but I'm not sure if that was the issue here, if it was something else.
Okay.
Kyle, do you want to take the next one from Anon?
Sure. A customer walked into either a Cabela's or Bass Pro store in the U.S. They asked to see a handgun. They pulled a round out of their pocket, racked it in the chamber, then shot themselves. That prompted Bass Pro Cabela's to implement a policy of having a trigger lock on every gun in every store at all times. That's also why they standardized on those crappy plastic locks. I get the frustration of not being able to try a trigger, especially since it can be such a departure from the feeling of the rest of the gun. But Bass Pro and Cabela's wants to minimize risk. Also, can Kelly say goodnight, Trevor? Next week, she says.
Next week. Yeah, I guess that seems like a good reason why they wouldn't... why they wouldn't have, or why they would have rather have trigger locks on those things.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. We have no messages from Patreon, Instagram, and I think Facebook. People have been mostly quiet. Craig was mentioning that's why I like alone time at the range. It's hard to trust people's skills. I take a really, I don't know if it's aggressive or if it's just upfront attitude with other shooters at the range. So if I see someone like mucking around, I say like, hey, you have to be behind that lane if there's someone down range or if it's in safe. And I don't know. Most people listen.
And I go to a range and there's other people there. I'm just switch right on because you watch other people and you kind of, okay, no, I'm switched on. I'm keeping an eye on them or
if it's too iffy, I'll switch base. If they're like, no, this person just doesn't care. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm switching bays, or if they do something serious enough, tell the range exec, let them deal with it. Yeah. If you'd like to email the show, send your emails over to slamfireradio@gmail.com. Patreon supporters, we have a new Patreon, Brian M, for $5. Brian, I know you emailed your address to us, but I don't care. And I'm not going to mail you a patch and sticker because I'm going to give one to you by hand at Battle of Alberta. You like that twist?
There you go.
Mo's concerned. He's like, why is he being such an asshole?
I'm like, Trevor's not here. Trevor's not here tonight. Why are you doing it?
Yeah, no, I'm like, man, that name looks familiar. I'm sure this guy's in 3 Gun. I took a look and I'm like, yeah, he's at 3 Gun. So you'll get it. You'll get it in person, hand delivered. That's
is he gonna get? Is he gonna get any stickers? He's
gonna get a patch and sticker. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
That's the deal. Patch and sticker. Shout outs. Mo?
For me, it would be Steve Anderson. I follow his like dry fire system and philosophy to shooting. I listen to his podcast, and he's like really helped me because I'm seeing myself get it better, and it's a lot to do with like, you know, listening to him and kind of following his direction, because I started off with the Ben Steger stuff, and obviously he's the top shooter in the world, but I needed something that that gave me more of this than the actual technical side. So that's it.
Cool. Kyle?
I actually don't have a shout out this week. Quiet week.
Mine is to Dave from Foothills Firearms Training for loaning me the meme guns, because I wouldn't buy this stuff if on my own. I wouldn't buy it, but to review, heck yes, I will review it. So thanks for sending me the meme guns to review. Finally, check us out on Gun Owners of Canada. Like us on Facebook. Right now we're at 2,798 likes. While you're over there on Facebook, give us a review over there. We think that maybe it will help with people finding the show if there's reviews on there. So I don't know, put one up there. If it's funny, we'll read it. We'll probably read it. Even if it isn't funny, we'll probably read it. Join the CCFR, and we will see you next week.
See you next week,
Kelly.
Good night, Trevor.
Good night, Trevor.
Yeah, good night, Trevor.
Yeah.